Thank you very much for taking the time for this interview. The digital transformation has reached our nurseries and a growing number of smart, interconnected toys are on the market. Mm-hmm. What is the status of the art of Internet of Toys?
We have all kinds of technologies coming into the toys market, and the interesting point is to see that there is like the robots section, which has always been clearly identifiable. So if you're searching for a robot, you go to the robot section, you find your robots. That's one part. That's, I think, the least interesting part, because there are all those other toys who just get augmented a little bit more. So looking at stuffed animals, you see these animals which have like just batteries, and they have like 3 sentences or 1 song they can repeat all over again. Then you see teddy bears which are connected to an app, and then they have more than 3 sentences. They already have a little profile of the child and can address the child with its name. And then you see animals who can like grow with how the child treats them. So depending on how the child interacts with the animal, it will change a little bit. So you see all kinds of development, and the difficulty hereby, what we see as a Safer Internet Center, is that people go to buy a toy, and if they buy a robot, they might think about what should the robot has as features. But if they buy a teddy bear, if they buy a doll, they buy a doll, and they don't think about a computer when they buy a doll. They just think about a doll. And that there is like a need to shift our thinking about certain toys if these toys become little machines or computers, because then we have different rules to apply on how to integrate them, perhaps also in our daily life and in our households.
What might be these new rules we have to consider?
I think most parents would know that they wouldn't place camera surveillance beside the bed of their child, or a lot of parents wouldn't allow a smartphone in the bedroom, but a teddy bear is conventionally just placed on the bed of a child. A dinosaur is just among the other dinosaurs, but if the dinosaur has like the function of Google, it's something that shouldn't be just on all the time, standing there, being used whenever it pleases a child, but it needs a kind of accompaniment by parents. So it should, for instance, be used together with an adult for a limited amount of time, switched off in other rooms perhaps.
Why are people concerned about smart technologies in smart toys?
I think to some extent it's also that the children's room and the childhood as general is something which requires our protection as parents feel. So on the one hand in a very positive way, on the other hand it's also about choosing the influences that a child has. And with smart toys, there is like this awareness moment that the world is coming into the child's room. So I remember in the debates about these dolls, a lot of concerns about wrong answers. So what if there are like wrong answers or answers given to the child that should not be given? Some of the wrong answers concerned like the values and the belief system and this whole world created by parents for the child of how the world runs.
So this means smart toys would be better accepted if they have a training phase and they learn about the value system of the parents.
Yes, I guess that parents would rather buy them if they could decide what answers a doll gives than if it's something given based on Google or another database, and if they can just pre-program a doll. Yes.
Is there any kind of ideal, responsible smart toy that you could envision?
It would not need the child's data to be put in a profile. It will allow the child to listen to what is recorded if it records something and to delete it or to change it, to alter it. So it will shift the control back to the child, because so far if there is like control, it's with the parents, but it's not with the one playing.
Are there any other concerns about smart toys?
We had like big headlines about this doll that had to be destroyed in Germany because it was a spying object. But on the same time, we all have like our smartphones, we have smart homes, we have all kinds of devices we think of as part of the adult world, but children are moving in this adult world. So they are concerned by Alexa, they are concerned by Google Home, they are concerned by all these other devices. If you look at toy research about which toys are like those that strengthen creativity and creative playing and social playing and this stuff, you see that it's often the toys that do not have a pre-given way to work, which can be used in different ways, which are very open. And with smart toys, there is like still a lack of toys that are very open to be used in very different ways. So often they have like a limited scope of what you can do with them, and even more limited as if they were not animated technologically.
Do you think it's rather a question of the awareness of individual parents saying, I don't want to have this camera in this teddy bear in the room of my child, or is it rather a societal debate to come up with some kind of regulation, standards or limitations?
The question of benefit with toys is very often, especially in the domains of smart toys, is posed as a question from the perspective of an adult or of a parent who wants to raise a child to be competitive enough, to be smart enough, to be social enough, creative enough for society. The benefit for the child, if you look at toys and you ask for the benefit of the child, there are like very few arguments why a doll should have a microphone or why a teddy bear should have a camera, because the child is far more intelligent in inventing a dialogue and inventing all kinds of different voices for a doll or for a teddy bear than these pre-programmed dolls and teddy bears can do. So I think like from a societal perspective, there is like, for instance, the question of why do we want these toys and whom are we serving?
Currently there's a quite substantial debate about data protection, data privacy. Some experts say this is a phenomenon which will soon be over. This debate will be gone in a few years, so we will simply accept that we do not have our data under control anymore. Do you share this quite provocative view?
What we observe with young people now is that they are partly moving back from public to more private groups. So instead of posting publicly on Facebook, they have WhatsApp groups, they have chat groups here, chat groups there, closed accounts. So I think the awareness of certain generations coming up is even stronger than adults now. So we had like feedbacks from kindergarten and primary school saying, I'm just bothered by my parents all the time making pictures, putting them online and not asking me. And so I think we might underestimate how critical future generations might be.
Will smart toys have some effects on the way children interact?
If like something like a doll, I'm very interested in the doll and in the teddy bear because the doll has been like this projection thing. So the doll has been like a very important figure in the development of children, because the doll impersonates all kinds of adults in the life of a child and is used for all kinds of purposes. So if a doll started to become an object that is actually connected to some app and the parents are listening to what the child is telling as secrets to the doll, it will, I guess, impact the relation.
When we see nowadays some children at the age of 1 or 2 just playing around with the smartphones of their parents, sometimes one could get the impression that the parents just delegated childcare to the smartphone. Will this be the standard in the future?
We see that already in kindergarten, like YouTube is used as babysitter. I like this debate because, like historically seen, we had like this whole debate of children playing outside, which was more children of not so wealthy families, and they were like out of control. They were in society, so you could not control whom they are meeting, what they are doing, and all kinds of bad influences could then come into homes. So the home and the children's room, they were like initially something, you know, if you have toys, if you have a children's room, that's the contrary to the playground. That's the controlled environment. That's where the parents can just set the rules. They can choose the toys. They can have this kind of laboratory of childhood where they bring up their child regarding their wishes. With this kind of toys, perhaps this changes a little bit. If parents underestimate that a video platform is offering all kinds of videos.
What is your vision about smart toys in 5 to 10 years? What will we see?
I hope that some of these toys, which are more like adults' dreams, so these microphones and speaking toys, that this will not be the ones succeeding, because it would be too expensive to make them safe, obviously, or they are not intelligent enough, it doesn't work enough. My hope would be that we find more open elements, but toys achieving to bridge this gap between something which is completely screen-based and digital and something which is completely analog, like the wood section of toys. So all these games that are like appearing now, which try to link bricks to building computer games, for instance, and where you play with bricks, and playing with bricks you have figures on a screen. So all these toys which are trying to bring this world together, I think are like a very nice hope.
What kind of fora do we need to discuss these technologies?
I'd welcome toys that try to find ways in which children are like integrated into how they are designed and how they evolve. To find ways in which children can have a more active part also in this. And then I'd welcome a debate that is like just to set certain rules and to say certain toys should not be sold in between all these other toys if they have functions that require a certain information pre-given, a certain consent, and certain toys which are just data collecting toys should not have like the label toys.
Do you have any recommendations for parents?
Parents should not try to use digital technologies as replacement, as something that you can give a child to occupy a child, but rather use digital technology as something that you need to accompany. So you have to find it joyful and wanting to spend time on it, but it's more like playing soccer with your kid.
Thank you very much for this interesting interview.
Welcome. Thank you.